Hello and welcome to Coach's Corner, presented by ProTenn Global Sports. Today is Saturday, March 15, and I am your host, Pete Zebron. It's certainly not easy being a tennis parent, and parents want exactly what's best for their kids. And on today's show, we're going to give you exactly what you can do as parents, what is very good for your children growing up as tennis players. ProTenn Global Sports is hosting Frank Giampaolo on the Southwest Tour, making stops in Albuquerque on the 31st of March, El Paso on April 1st, Tucson, Arizona, April 2, and finishing up in Scottsdale on April the 3rd. And there is more information on ProTennGlobal.com. And we'd like to remind everyone that you can call our show today at 347-637-1197. You can also reach us on Twitter at ProTenn Radio and, of course, on Facebook.com/ProTenn Radio. We'll take your question any way you want to reach us, and you can also log on to ProTennRadio.com for all the podcasts and future show information. And today, again, we've got Frank Giampaolo as our guest. Frank is a veteran author who's acclaimed book, The Tennis Parent's Bible, and he's also written Championship Tennis that was just released in April of 2013. Frank's innovative approach has earned him numerous honors, including being named the 2001 USPTA Southern California Tennis Director of the Year, and he's also founded the Mental Emotional Tennis Workshop in 2002. Since then, participants in Frank's program have gone on to win 71 U.S. national titles, and his students have also won ATP and WTA singles and doubles titles. Welcome to our show this afternoon, Frank.
Hi, Pete. How's it going, everybody?
Good. We're thrilled to have you on. And first things first, Frank. With respect to your books that you've written, was hoping that you can elaborate on the success of those books and talk to us a little bit about how tennis parents can utilize those books and the instructions in those books to help be the best tennis parents they can be.
Yeah, well, the Tennis Parent Bible has been out for a couple of years now. It was, I think, number 3 on Amazon's bestseller list for tennis books. And in a nutshell, it's everything tennis parents didn't even know they needed to know. So it's jam-packed with information, with blunders and cures and anecdotes and common questions and common problems with solutions. The book really does have a ton of in-depth detail as far as organizational blueprints, how to customize the plan of attack for your child, how to understand your child's brain type and body type, how to hire tennis coaches and the whole entourage. So we've had a lot of fun with that. We've actually, for the last couple of years, have been traveling around the world. ITF leaders are using it as their blueprint. So we're educating coaches and in kind of the last 6 months, I think we did New Zealand, Australia, Israel. So we're kind of getting calls from far-off places and not just here in the States. So that was a ton of fun. Championship Tennis is more of a basic developing tennis players type of book. Coaches and parents are actually buying that. That's on Human Kinetics, which is probably the worldwide leader in sports publishing. And I did just hear that Championship Tennis is their second best-selling tennis book of all time already, and it's only been out in stores for about 6-8 months. So we're happy about that, that's for sure. Anyway, thanks for asking about that, Pete.
Sure. Congratulations, Frank. And that's exciting that other countries are reaching out to you and bringing you in with respect to this very important subject matter. Obviously, laying a very good foundation in younger tennis players can lead and pay dividends down the pike. In fact, we've seen, examples of athletes whose parents seemingly still getting a little bit too involved in their games down the road. But, in some of your travels, Frank, can you elaborate on maybe some of the destinations around the world that are more proactive in your approach and have really implemented what you've been writing about?
Well, sure. The ITF leaders in Spain, they're really getting involved. Of course, we talked about already kind of down under with the whole New Zealand and Australia. They're very involved also, and they really truly understand that there's a triangle type of effect where the obviously the coaches need to be educated and the players need to be educated, but also they get it that, the parents are not educated, they could easily sabotage any real chance of success. And so we're spending a little bit of time, and it's kind of interesting for me, but educating tennis parents, it's actually the catalyst to grow the game and decrease the dropout rate. There's been a lot of hype in the last few years regarding 10 and under and getting more kids into the game, but unfortunately the dropout rate is still the same. And one of the biggest reasons for the dropout rate is uneducated tennis parents. The number one reason why kids say they quit tennis is because their parents they get too heavily involved and they kind of get a little bit nuts about the game. And it's sad we're putting all these efforts into bringing kids into the game, but then they're still dropping out like mad when they get a little bit older. So one of the neat conversations we've been having, I just did a great USPTA workshop in the Mid-Atlantic states, and we talked a lot about the idea that if tennis parents are more empowered and they're educated, they're going to actually motivate the coaches to improve. Because if the parents know what's going on and they understand the art of what I call deliberate, customized training, they understand the new methodology of training, and the coaches don't, well, the parents are going to leave that program. And so now we're finding that, the reason why a lot of coaches are getting motivated to get educated is because the parents are getting educated and they're leaving their program. And now it's necessity. That's the number one kind of reason why they're changing is they have to, because now finally tennis parents are getting educated. So it's pretty exciting.
That's fascinating. With that in mind, Frank, can you tell us what your tennis mission statement is and elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, sure. Well, I would say it's just maximizing player potential at the quickest rate. And to me, at the quickest rate is kind of the bold statement. So we have to really get involved in how the child is wired, their brain type and their body type, and teach them to play the style that they find natural, which is kind of more of their preferred intelligence, if you will. And we can get into that a little bit later if you want, but to me it's pretty interesting that certain personality profiles, like 4 or 5 ball rallies, they love the art of attacking, but in other personalities are opposite. They're happy just staying back and letting the other dude self-destruct. They're fine with 20, 30 ball rallies. They love the idea about retrieving, and some people hate it, some people love it. And so for me, I found that really fascinating, and that's one of the things that kind of turned my programs around when I stopped doing old-fashioned, old-school training, and I started doing kind of deliberate, customized training.
Very good. No, thanks for sharing that. And how and why did this topic become so important to you and what you do?
Well, it really became personal when I became a tennis parent. So I was coaching high-performance players. I was a director at Vic Braden Tennis College for, 10, 15 years working with Vic. And we did focus primarily on stroke mechanics and the physics of the game. But as a tennis parent, I'm coaching and I'm finding almost always kids lose, they get off the court, and they never say, man, if I would have followed through an inch higher, I would have won that match. I never heard that. I always heard things like, I was up 5-2, I lost focus, I choked, I hate pushers, I don't know how to play against pushers. These are all mental, and emotional issues. The dude cheated, and then I kind of went nuts, I couldn't handle it. So the more I got into it, it was like, wow, this mental, emotional side really is important. And parents didn't get it. They thought that a tennis lesson was the coach stands by the basket, hits balls right to the kid's backhand for an hour, and that's a lesson. That's what they wanted to see. And it turns out that's exactly what you don't want to do with a kid when you're training him to win tournaments. So, and I'm talking about more of the high-performance level, top sectionally ranked kids, nationally ranked kids. I understand if it's a beginner, you have to go through fundamentals a little bit more, but when they're kind of past that stage, it gets really fun. It gets really exciting. So that's why I wrote the Tennis Parent Bible, and that's why I changed my whole training method. Was I understood, man, being a parent, it's emotional. It really hits home big time, you know. So that's what motivated the whole thing for me.
Great. And with that in mind, if you can elaborate on some of the tennis parents workshops that you do in affiliation and association with the USTA, that would be great.
Oh, sure. Well, the workshops are they're either provided directly to the tennis parent or to the coaches. So with the coaches in mind, it's how to communicate and educate parents. And with the parents in mind, we kind of go through the whole A to Z of how to motivate your child, understanding how they're wired. We go through all the tennis parent blunders. And the biggest key is kind of using things like the school methodology of teaching. So you kind of get it. You remember when we were all in school, we went to math class for an hour, science for an hour, history